Okay, good morning once again. I want to share with you a diagnostic I took part in remotely. It was in a 2005 Peugeot 206. Basically, the complaint was that the engine wouldn't respond to accelerator pedal inputs. The history was the car was driven to a garage for installation of accessories. I don't know exactly what happened, but one thing led to another, and the engine stopped responding to accelerator pedal inputs. Many parts were replaced, including a throttle motor, ignition distributor pack, accelerator pedal position sensor, of course plugs, I think, and some other stuff. Heck, even the cylinder head was taken off for resurfacing over this same issue. Eventually, after some months, the car was abandoned by the accessories installer who created the issues in the first place, and then the car sat for more than a year, about 18 months, I think, from what I was told. Eventually, one of my former trainees, now a client, came across it and called me about it. So I asked him to use his scan tool to read the fault codes in the engine control module and the transmission control module. So those are the faults, the fault codes he found in the throttle position, in the engine control module. They related to the throttle position sensor, the accelerator pedal position sensor, the map sensor, air conditioning refrigerant pressure sensor, and the oxygen sensor not switching. And in the transmission, there were fault codes for system oil pressure, sensor circuit, and then input shaft speed sensor, signal. I think it was missing as of when that code set. And then the module also complained about not receiving engine torque information over the CAN bus. So I asked the client to unplug the accelerator pedal position and measure the voltages on the 4 wires, and then do the same test when the sensor was plugged in. So those are the voltages. He said he saw on the wires. So from that I determined that the accelerator pedal position sensor functioned correctly. The voltages on the white and blue wires when the socket was unplugged were bias voltages sent by the engine control module. Now we moved on to the throttle position sensor circuit, and that's part of the entire throttle valve assembly. The socket or the connector that contains the TPS wires also has the 2 wires that operate the motor. Anyway, I asked him to make the same measurements when voltage measurements when the assembly was plugged into the vehicle, and also when the socket was unplugged. And on the screen you see what he saw, or at least what he reported back to me. The first 2 on the red gray and the red blue wires, pin 1 and 2, I was not sure what I was seeing with those, but I figured those might be the wires that operate the motor. And then on the brown wire, pin 5, what I saw there made a bit of sense. That looked like the reference voltage to me. Now on pins 3, 4 and 6, what he reported back didn't make sense. So what was clear enough at that point was the brown wire had the TPS reference voltage and it was good, and for sure the TPS ground was missing. So I consulted the wiring schematic to decipher what we had seen. It took me a few hours actually. I had the diagrams, but it took me a few hours to determine which diagram was the correct one for this vehicle, because this vehicle has so many engine variants. So weeding through the schematics took a bit of time, but eventually I figured that the gray wire on pin 3 was missing a ground. So I called the client back and asked him to jump a ground to pin 3 through a test light and take measurements again when the assembly was plugged in. As you can see from on the screen, things had now changed on the red white wire, on the gray wire and on the blue wire, and what we were seeing now made sense. So I asked him to ground the gray wire properly now, and the vehicle was able to the engine now responded correctly to accelerator pedal inputs. Now the client traced the bad ground to the engine control module. So basically that would mean to fix the problem would mean either repairing the engine control module, which wasn't possible in this case because the client didn't trust anyone to do that, and the alternative would be to lay a separate ground for this sensor, and that's what he did, and the engine has been running quite fine since. This is a lesson on remote diagnostics and how it is possible and feasible to get it from us, but it is only available to our partners. So if you want to become our partner, please reach us through that contact on the screen. You can call us, SMS or WhatsApp. Thank you very much for your time listening to me this morning.